Your life experience, good or bad, is a gift when you share it with others. At Taxi Chronicles, we allow real riders with real stories to share their gift. So hopefully this episode will intrigue, enhance or inspire you. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Morning. Yes, we're back with another episode, another rider. Today we're honoured to have another fellow podcaster in the house, in the car, and he's got a similar reason for doing podcasts as I have, about young people, and he's also in tech, and he does something else. So it's going to be an interesting conversation and see, hopefully we can all learn something today. So nice to have you here today.
Thanks for having me. What a wonderful, spontaneous moment to talk to someone about something we equally care about.
Yes. So let's start off with a podcast first. What made you want to do a podcast, and how long have you been doing it?
So I actually haven't published any content yet, but I've been interviewing people for about a year.
Okay.
And I've got all this great content, but I think the podcasting landscape is so dense and there's so much content out there that I'm trying to work out how can I make this as useful as possible to people, rather than it being, I don't want to, fill a vacuum or create an echo chamber. I think this is super cool because it's obviously super unique and you'll meet such interesting, I'm not sure I fit in that category, but such interesting, diverse views, especially at the back of a taxi in London. But the purpose of the podcast I'm putting together, which is called Leaders for Tomorrow.
You saved the name already, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So I don't want you to say the name and someone tries to steal your name if you haven't saved it.
Oh, the name is somewhat irrelevant. It's more about the content.
Okay.
But it's really me talking to sort of fellow leaders across industries about the sort of greatest lessons and mistakes they've made to inspire young people to, act with confidence and vulnerability in the decisions that they make. So often people decide to make career decisions or life decisions based on what they think they should be doing or what other people are doing. Mm-hmm. But the folks that are most successful tend to do what they feel is right for them, follow their passion, which sounds so cliche, but that is how you make it. Is doing something you love rather than doing something that TikTok has told you to do.
Yeah, I hear you. What have you found when you first did your first episode? How did you feel? Was there like difficulties, or how did it go down?
So I thought that the way to kind of get into the best groove was to interview the people that I'm sort of closest with, and I can be most vulnerable with as well, because it doesn't work if there's no connection between the two people, whether it's someone new or someone I think connection is so important, otherwise it feels like question answer. So I think the biggest issue is just making the other person feel comfortable being open, because it is you are asking someone to put themselves out into the world, and it doesn't work for the audience unless the person is giving themselves, it just feels stuck. So I think that's one of the biggest things. But actually my favorite part of it is just learning things about people through the questions you ask that you wouldn't tend to ask in a social setting. You tend to get deeper with people, and it sort of catches people off guard, doesn't it? Because you're not, it's not light chat. It doesn't work if it's light, well, I mean, it's not Radio 1, but it doesn't really work if it's light chat. People tend to be listening to a podcast to find something, whether it's meaning or inspiration or knowledge. So I think the issue is getting people to open up, but when they do, it's I think, really powerful.
Yeah, I understand that. Is there, based on all the interviews you've done, what would you say you've learnt the most?
I think I've learned the courage to ask difficult questions, because if you try and just scratch the surface or skate on the surface, then you don't really find the deep stuff. But you often are sort of scared, I think, to ask hard questions to people, because it does create a kind of awkward, uncomfortable moment for a second. But what I think I've learned is that if you ask the deeper questions, and this is true of life, right? If you ask yourself the tougher questions, then you find the most meaning. And it takes time when you're talking to people to learn that. It doesn't work if it's light banter, right? You need to get to the meat.
Yeah, it's like relationship. I see that totally. Relationship, children. If you don't ask the serious questions, and you're not going to get the right answers, or really know where the person's coming from. So I can see that.
And ultimately, you know, the audience that I want to inspire are young people who are, you know, looking for that meaning and looking for that answer, and may not find it within the role models in their, you know, in their kind of circles. I used to be a secondary school teacher, and in some of the kind of most high poverty communities in London, and, you know, one of my favorite parts of being a teacher was your ability to inspire a lot of people at once, or potential to, or your ability to really influence change in people's lives. And so the podcast comes from the desire to reach a big audience that you could potentially inspire. Not me, but the people I interview could inspire young people to think about the decisions that they make in their lives.
Why did you want to become a teacher?
So when I graduated university, I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, as most people don't when they're, you know, 20. And, you know, I talked to a bunch of friends about what are you doing with your career, like what are you thinking of doing, and a bunch of them said, you know, they're going to become teachers. And so I was like, yeah, let's give this a go. And it just opened my eyes. I had quite privileged upbringing, and it really kind of opened my eyes to the kind of great inequalities in society. And, you know, I didn't feel like I was just a teacher. I felt like I was on a social mission as well. So I'm really glad that I did it. It was a really, really tough experience. You know, I taught in Eltham and in Shoreditch, actually. But teaching in Eltham really kind of opened my eyes.
Eltham could be a tough area.
Yeah, it was really tough. You know, I was thrown into the deep end in a context which I really couldn't relate to at all. And, you know, the kids' apathy towards education was so rife. You know, really, they did not want to be in school. They did not want to be in education. And my job wasn't just to teach them to have, you know, to get good grades. It was to teach them to care about learning. And that's hard, right? Teaching the syllabus is one thing, but teaching them to care about education is another.
And how did you come over that hurdle, overcome that hurdle?
I think like bringing it home to them, the kind of possibilities that could be created. You know, ultimately kids are motivated by money, or think they should be motivated by money, especially, you know, 16. So I spent, you know, a lot of time to say, you know, well, if you do this, then you'll get this job, and if you get this job, then you'll have this amount of money. Unfortunately, you know, the superficial stuff worked a lot of the time. because they don't know any better. And if it's a good enough carrot. If that's the carrot that gets people going, then so be it. But also just I really, really, really cared about them, and it wasn't just a job. I genuinely cared, and I think that was clear to them. And I think a lot of the time the kids did it for me rather than for themselves.
Well, that shows you had a connection.
Yeah, but sadly, you wish they were. You wish you were doing it for them, because I can't, be there forever.
But then...
It's like when I was a kid, my parents, used a bit of a carrot sometimes to, if you get an A, then we'll, get you a new shirt, and that's all good and all. But fortunately, I don't. I'm not motivated by any carrots anymore. But there's a risk that if you, motivate people by dangling incentives, then they will, just keep looking for those
incentives.
Yeah, or like an incentive-based policy of trying to get. Like if you say, like, if you get an A, then I'll give you 20 minutes extra at lunch. Are you working for the A, or are you working for the 20 minutes extra at lunch?
But then when they go to work, it's the same principle, isn't it? If you work for me, I will give you this amount of money. Then you can buy, the latest Kardashian outfit, or do you see what I mean?
That's very little fabric.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm thinking.
Get me more fabric. When did it become appealing to have less?
But something you said earlier about that it's you got the incentive from them through the money, but it's wrong. I kind of think I'm not sure. There was a documentary about. As you've been a teacher, you probably know about that incentive scheme where students will getting paid to turn up and get good grades at school.
Yeah.
And the history of that, it came from America.
Really? I didn't know that.
It come from there's a black American who ended up in Harvard, and he said he came from one of those ghetto areas, and he remembers sitting around the dinner table, lunch thing hall with his other university friends, and they were explaining how they're going to get this job, be in this university, and they're going to get this job, and they need to get this grade, blah, blah, blah. And the whole life was planned out for them because their fathers, who are CEOs and stuff, had said you're going to do this and that, and it was all planned. But then he looked at himself, and he looked at his friends from where he came from, and their fathers were drug dealers, in gangs, etc. So that was their aspiration. So both what he said, he learned from that, if you give people an incentive, then they'll do the right thing, no matter, even if it's the overall thing. What he's saying is the outcome, if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter how you get to be, as long as you get to be. Because it's better on society, people contributing, and later on they find out what they really want to be than they do in that respect. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I suppose, if the worst result is that a young person gets further forward where, the odds are stacked against them, then so be it if we had to dangle a carrot. Like, I totally, I very much agree with that. Because ultimately the destination is so important when you have so much, in your path.
What you're working in IT now? IT, what is it? IT manager?
No. Now I actually run a business school, an online business school.
Okay, business school. That's good.
So still in education in some way, but it's a edtech startup. So it's we're an online platform. We help people change their careers.
So you're really set on helping people. You've got a really good heart from the sound of it. Everything you talked about is helping people.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot about legacy and how, maybe selfishly, I think, how will people remember me? And I don't want to be remembered for, I don't know, making loads of money or not being remembered. You know, I want to be, if someone's going to write a press release about my life, I'd like it to say a lot about how I, you know, changed other people's lives, because, you know, we're all sharing this place together, so let's try and make it best for each other. I think one thing the pandemic's definitely taught me, and hopefully taught others too, is what's important. And it's not wearing what Kim Kardashian's wearing. Hopefully, it's you know, supporting each other, because we're all pillars to each other, and yeah, it's probably comes from being a teacher and being exposed to, you know, new realities for me. But I genuinely I really feel for people, and you know, I want to make other people's lives better.
That's good. You've been a great guest. Couple more questions left. What were the catalysts that made you change careers? You sound like you've had quite a few different things. What were the catalysts?
Interesting question. I think it's about impact, and I think whilst I loved being a teacher, I knew that if I left the classroom and built something myself, I would be able to build something that would impact more people's lives than just the confines of my classroom. And so I left and I helped set up an education charity, which helped teachers raise money for opportunities for kids in the classroom, like field trips and iPads and stuff like that. And so I recognized that, you know, impact could be made greater. And so I've essentially just tried to bounce into either new demographics where I can have an impact on different types of people at different stages in their lives, or one where I feel like I can really help thousands. I want to help millions, right? And I gravitate towards opportunities for greater impact. And also, you know, I'm an entrepreneur in my heart of hearts, so I tend to get bored and want to bounce into building something new. I've built 2 charities and 1 company, and I think building is fun.
What was the charities called?
So one was called Rocket Fund, which was then acquired by Crowdfunder, and it was a crowdfunding platform for teachers. And the second I'm still running is called Out in Tech, and it's sort of a network for LGBT people in the tech sector. Okay. And there are 3,000 members around the UK, and I set that up in London 4 years ago.
Okay, it sounds like you've been busy.
Yeah. And on Thursdays I sleep.
On Thursdays you sleep?
Yeah,
okay.
Thursdays I sleep.
I'm with you. Well, you still got a couple of hours to stay awake.
Yeah. It's fun. I mean, it's also, you know, what's really important is when you do good things, you also meet really interesting people. You know, it's the kind of greatest side effect of building things for others is you meet so many other interesting people who also care about doing that, right? Who also care about building things and having impact and solving problems. And those are really interesting people. And I'm so lucky to have met so many really inspiring people all around the world that want to solve problems, and, you know, makes for a good dinner conversation.
Yeah, it does.
And the back of a taxi.
Yes, it certainly does. So, great, like I said, great guest. The last question, it was on the tip of my tongue and it just slipped my memory of that. But thanks a lot for that. Where can people find you if they want to get in touch with your apps and all this kind of thing? Have you got a social media handle that they can find you on?
Yeah, they can do. I guess I'm on Twitter, and my Twitter is Oliver Beach. Oliver M Beach. I'm not a big social media user.
I was going to say, do you want to spell that? Everybody always spells it.
Yeah, in fact, I'm just going on my profile to double check. Yeah, Oliver M. Beach. Oliver like Oliver Twist, M for Mark, and Beach like the seaside.
Okay.
So that's me. Our Instagram is Oliver Beach UK. I don't know why. I'm not global. But that's how you find me. And if you care about education and social impact, then that's what I chat about.
Remembered now. Thank you, Oliver. What I would say is, for fellow podcaster, those episodes that you've got, don't worry about if the market's saturated or whatever, just get them out. People will find them, you'll start to hear people liking them, they'll send you comments about thank you, you've helped. And even if you just help one person, even if it just helps one person, it's done, it's doing its job.
Totally right. Thanks for giving me the confidence.
Apart from that, thanks a lot, and I wish you well.
Thank you.
We hope you liked that Taxi Chronicles interview. Don't forget to share and subscribe to get the latest episode. Ever considered investing in the continent with the fastest growing economies and population on Earth? The same continent that holds 30% of the world's known natural resources. Listen to our sister podcast, Africa Investor Stories, where you hear real investors with real stories from around the world share their experience of investing in Africa. We post Monday and Thursday at 10 a.m. British Standard Time.